Today's important topic, everybody, is about going reopening our economy and really giving a lot more clarity. Excuse me, a little bit more clarity to how our workplaces need to be. And as many regions, how's it going, Karanisa? Awesome. Hello. As our regions and our countries begin living with COVID-19, yeah, not as a pandemic, but an endemic, yeah, how many of you know these terms now, is that instead of just lock us all down and the economy virtually comes to a halt, it's something where we have to know how to work with it. And many leaders, and this is not just a Malaysian setting, it is in many parts of the world globally, from multinational companies all the way to SMEs, we're all figuring it out, and we're weighing a little bit. Many people are talking. So is it virtual? Can we really virtual only? Can we physical? Let's go back to pre-COVID-19, pre-March 2020, where all of us just go to work. Is it a physical setting only, or is it hybrid, which is physical and virtual? And many of us are leaning toward it's got to be hybrid. So let me show you some of the numbers, yeah, that on a global scale. And before I do that, all right, if I can introduce the team, yeah, we have an awesome panel of coaches that are going to be with us today. So if I can, without further ado, everybody, can you join me in warmly welcoming our first panel, which is Jeanne Ui. All right, Coach Jeanne, coming up.
Hello. It's good to be back again, everyone. Yeah, I hope you're having a great lunch, and we have an awesome topic today. So let's jump right into that. Yeah.
Awesome,
Over to
awesome.
you,
And so
Marisa.
this is Coach Jeanne, and everybody, let's also welcome Coach Elin. Woohoo!
Hi everyone, good to see all of
Yay!
you again in this live wire. Yay.
Good to see all of you. You see, the leadership live wires are a very unique conversation because we're not here. Hi, we're not here to give you a webinar and it's one-way information. All right, the leadership live wires are designed to be about discussion, to be about your input as well. So we want you to equally be chatting us up and commenting, and there's no right and wrong. See, that's the beautiful part about these topics, is that there's no this is right and that's wrong. Okay, so if I can, we really want to hear from all of you. All right, so start chiming in. So now that I got the coaches on, our panel is complete. Let's talk a little bit about some real numbers, shall we? Okay, so if I can, just throwing this out onto the screen, I hope all of you can see this. If you're looking at it from mobile, it's going to look a little bit small. But let's check out this data. All right. Now, many of you can tell us, is this true for you? Our global averages, global average, which is a graph on the right-hand side, shows us that 35% of people actually want to work completely from home or really more from home. Okay, and the global average also shows that a third of that, yeah, a third of that sample size want to work away from home. Okay, so again, this will differ across different age groups. Okay, but we're not going to go there. Just generally looking at the global average and where Malaysians, yeah, so you can see our Malaysian flag there. It is almost the same. In fact, Malaysians think 2.8 days working from home post-pandemic is actually what they want. Okay, so if I can, this is what the Malaysians say. So all of you in the room, let us know. Okay. Interestingly enough, as we throw about the whole virtual ke, physical ke, hybrid, it also must be addressed that many employees, yeah, from multinationals and SMEs alike, are realizing that we cannot be fully virtual. I just want to work from home and that's it. Yeah, because they're realizing a few things, For example, look at the global country average and look at where Malaysians give their voice to. I miss being with my co-workers, 64 to 52%. You can see the third bar. Many people say that if I work from home, I'm not productive. I've got my kids running around. I've got all kinds of errands to take care of. So I'm not productive. I can't get stuff done. People actually feel more burnt out by working from home. How many of you have that? Say, yeah. If you do, let us know. Oh, yeah, coaches. My hand is up too, right? And sometimes when we work from home, we feel disengaged. So we're realizing that virtual all the way also not really productive, and really going all the way back to pre-MCO and physical only also, now that I've tasted the flexibility. Most Malaysians want the flexibility of going to office around the work schedule, which actually comes down to what we call the hybrid work model. How do we do that? So this is today's discussion. Today's discussion is we're going to talk about the hybrid work model. We're going to talk about the hybrid leadership, the hybrid culture, the hybrid workplace, and all that. We really want to be able to hear from you. How exciting is it, isn't it? So, my first question to the panel, and let's have a really good discussion about this, is the hybrid work model. What are, Simon. Oh, Simon, is so good to have you here. Okay, let me call out Simon. It's been a while. They always think that their employees are not fully working at home if they are not back to the company and performing their duties. See, that's a form of leadership, because some leaders think that I see my employees, they are working. Interesting. Okay, we're going to get to that. Simon, keep it coming. Love it. So the first question, the hybrid work model. There are pros and cons around this, right, guys? Pros and cons. Let's talk about the pros first. Maybe, Jeanne, you want to start with some of the pros?
Some of the pros, yeah. Let me talk from, I think, the employee perspective. Yeah, because of course there's pros. I think from the data, I see that many employees want that flexibility, right? They find it as a pro. If I can choose how much time I can go to the office, how much time I can be at home, then I can, in a way, juggle my work life, right, every day. So I think flexibility is one. I was curious also just now to see that the employees had a high percentage, like 60 something or something, is that I am actually more productive if I'm given that flexibility to choose. Wow. So that's another one. I'm like, wow, they're not just thinking about their own interests, but they're saying, hey, I think I'm more productive if you allow me to have hybrid model. I'm like, wow, awesome. I can sleep when I need to sleep. I can work when I need to work. Yeah,
Really
maybe
good
I'll just
point.
start with those two, right? Flexibility and being productive.
Be productive. Less time commuting, spending less time on the road. All that just counts, right?
Yeah.
What other pros are there, Elin?
Yeah, I think just now you mentioned about spending less time in commuting and the transport, from one place to another place. Actually, it helps to make us also less tired, and we can jump onto things faster, because let's say, for example, you have to travel 1 hour to go to work. It's also taking up my energy and my physical energy as well, and my freshness. But if I have the flexibility of working from home at certain days, yeah, I mean, probably that's why people say they're more productive, because they can jump right into work and they don't have to worry about the tiredness come from the traveling, come from the going through the heavy traffic.
I don't have to
Just
walk to my meetings.
yeah,
Don't have to find parking.
I
don't have
just
to
have to
find
click a
parking.
button.
Yeah.
Correct. So I think
So,
when it comes
yeah.
to hybrid, I had, yeah, certain days I go to office, but certain days I can work from home. I can do more, I think, in that sense. Yeah.
Doing more also means that we pack ourselves up with meetings lah. That's why people burn out working
Yes.
from home, right? I can do too much. Okay, this is awesome, because a lot of people are realizing that there are a lot of benefits. So what are some of the cons? Let's get to the cons, because I think Jean said a pro just now, which I thought was a bit of a con for some generations. The flexibility, is that necessarily a benefit?
Interesting. So I guess we're still talking about employees, right? It's employee
Yeah,
pro and con because, yeah, we can move into the employer side of pros and cons as well.
sure, let's
So
throw it out.
yeah, you're right, right? Flexibility is a pro for some, con for others. We've seen data where, certain groups of people prefer not to have that flexibility because they like that stability of like, yeah, just tell me you want me to be at the office or at home, don't make me, pening only every week is like different. I can't handle that, right? Yeah. So I think the other cons, as we know, is people are saying, I don't get to see my friends, my colleagues. So it's
Yeah.
impacting my mental health, my
Mm-hmm.
emotional, my social health.
Right.
I need to be with people. So therefore, I'm not so healthy. My
Okay.
well-being has gone down.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah. And the routine part, yeah, being flexible, the opposite, the con is like, I don't have that routines. It throws me off. I don't like that every week is different. And
Yeah.
yeah, I prefer if you give me a space permanently
Mm.
at work
Mm. Mm-hmm.
versus like now, gosh, some days you don't allow me to go in. There's no space for me. I have to take turns. I don't like that.
Mm.
That's
Hot
a con.
desking. Hot
Yeah,
desking.
hot
Yeah.
desking. I don't
Oh.
even have my own space now.
Mm. Mm,
That,
mm,
that,
mm.
that
And
thing,
and as human beings, we're creatures of pattern. We need to develop that pattern.
Habits as well.
Habits.
that's right. That's right.
Interesting.
Mm.
Interesting. Elin, what about you? What do you foresee as cons to the hybrid uh, work model?
Yeah. I think there could be more coordination needs to be done because like hybrids means some people we also may have different schedule like this team of people will come in at a certain days, another team coming at a certain day, so we need to know the schedule of all these different people. Then when we want to have meetings we need to coordinate because some people may be physically there, some people may be online, so I have to make sure that when I want to call for a meeting, do I need to be it a mix of a virtual and a physical meeting. I have to
Yeah.
make sure who are there, who are not there. So I think there will be
Yeah.
a bit more coordination that we need to work. And some people may not
Mm.
like it. Because, for example, sometimes we want to call ad hoc meetings, like say we are in the office together. We just want
Yeah.
to have a discussion on certain things that issues
Yeah.
break up. I can just say, hey, hi, come, let's go to the meeting room and have a discussion about it. Now
Yeah.
we can do that. You have to, okay, who is here, who is not here? I want to have a discussion. I have to set up, virtual meetings, yeah. So I think a bit more coordination that we need to work. And again, like what Marisa you mentioned, is like habits, habits of if I
Yeah.
go to work every day, I see these people, I can have a chat over coffee at the pantry, we may be able to solve certain problems. Now I have to
Mm.
pick up my phone or I have to
Mm.
send emails in order to solve certain problems that I may be able to solve more easily if I am or either everybody physical or everybody virtual. But hybrid
Mm.
is that some people are here, some people are not there,
Yeah.
so a
Yeah.
bit more coordination work that we need to do.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
We talked about the pros and cons from employee perspective, right? And many of us are managing ourselves, so much so that Mr. Toe Thumb here is talking about the fact that we need to be disciplined ourselves. We must always be
Yes.
responsible for our task and be independent on our work. So much so that there's too much independence when we work on our own. And how do we juggle this? So from an employee perspective, we did talk about some of the pros and cons. What about from the employer point of view? uh, Going into the hybrid workspace work model, are there any pros? Because it sounds like it's making things harder for the employers, and I'm just voicing it out because, guys, I've got a lot of employers. Guys, if you are any business owners inside this conversation, or business owners, you can be running 220 to 2,000 people in your organization, but hybrid is not necessarily easier for employers, so much so that I hear a lot of people say, yeah, pick one. It's either physical and then everybody comes Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, or whichever, if you work a 6-day week, or virtual, and then we all just log in and then no office, thank you, I save on rental, so it's hard when it's in between. So I'm not sure, but I would really love to hear from everyone. How
Hmm.
is hybrid a pro for employers? So let's talk about that. What do you guys think?
Hmm. Yeah, I'll just jump in first. Yeah, Marisa, I think you've said it. One, we know that many companies have reduced their workspaces, even reduced buildings, especially the big multinationals across the globe. Yeah, it
Sure.
started last year and it's continuing, right? So we have abandoned buildings and all of that. So, of course, the pro is, yeah, savings on rental is huge. It's huge. I
Mm,
think the second thing is, of course, reducing the exposure to people getting the virus.
okay.
Yeah.
All right. So the health point of view is taken care of. So the less people you have mixing together, the less exposure is good for the company.
Mm,
Um, Another thing I was thinking is what is good is people are able to hire talents globally now because talents don't necessarily
right.
have to come in physically to work,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So suddenly there's that realization that wow, the world is my talent pool, right? So in that sense, I think there are also savings and also yeah, getting better talent if you can
Mm-hmm.
because your
Mm-hmm.
pool is bigger now, not so
That's so true.
limited in resources. So these are the I think top pros because
Sure, sure.
talent is most important. Yeah.
Sure. And I think, Jean, we are echoing Johan Mokhtar, saying
Hmm.
that the benefits are actually more long term. There are going to be a lot of that short term nitty gritty that must be looked into. But in the long term, there's reduced office footprint, reduced consumption, reduced costs in the long term. Yeah.
That's right.
But we probably also have to weigh that savings along with investments in digital infrastructure that smooths that working model a little bit. But we'll talk about that toward the end. But more long term in benefits. So these are the pros to the employer. Yeah. Eileen, yourself, what are some other uh, pros and benefits that you can see in the hybrid model for the employers?
Yeah, I think uh, with the younger generations of the workers, I think
Mm-hmm.
flexibility is something that's very important for them.
Mm,
And with the hybrid work model, we are able to enable them for flexibility because people yeah. So I think in be able to attract younger talents into the workforce, I think flexibility is important. And just now we also said from the survey, productivity actually increased as
mm,
we have the giving them the flexibility. So I think from the employer side of you, if I can I can reduce costs like what Jean says, I can reduce my cost of my
sure.
rental, even
Mm,
electricity or some other hardware kind of thing. But
mm,
I can, at one time I reduce costs, as another time I increase my productivity. I can
mm,
do my staff can do more with the same amount of resources that I give to them or the same number of people, I can do
mhm,
more. So I think
mm.
because of this, I think is still that this will be some of the benefits, for the employers as well in the long run, just like what Johan has said just now. Yeah.
Wow.
Mm.
True that. True that. True that.
Mm.
I think so there are definitely a lot of benefits
Mm.
and pros. But let's look at some of the cons. I think this is a very very important discussion because many of us as employers, business owners are looking at hybrid and not sure some of the precautions. It sounds awesome. Everybody wants to do it. Employees definitely want to have that flexibility, but as employers, what do we have to be careful of? And before I go to the cons, let me share something that Johan talked about here. Again,
Yeah.
a longer term outcome for employers is to force supervisors and managers to move to a managed by outcome instead of managed by attendance model. That's so true, and we're in the long term, or probably even now. Thank you so much, Johan. That's awesome sharing. It's moving away from the model of seeing my employees, therefore we know that they're doing work, as opposed to managed by outcomes, by targets, by
Promise.
setting goals. Yes,
Yeah.
which should have been the case in any way, right? So
Right.
it's asking more of leaders.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very good. Thank you so much, Johan. So, what are some of the cons in the hybrid work model?
Oh, plenty.
What are we not seeing? Yeah. What are we not seeing? And I think we're it's not a crystal ball, because I think many people are still figuring it out. But what do we already see as issues, as we have been in the remote space for the last almost 2 years? We can see some of the gaps. And if we go into this hybrid model, there are some cons and that we have to precaution, and that's what these discussions are about.
Mm.
What can we see as disadvantages?
Yeah, I would say that it's more challenges that we can overcome than
Mm-hmm.
all just cons in that sense. Challenges that we can overcome. One of the things, of course, just now we mentioned also, people may feel that we don't have the bonding that needed. The team engagement, the bonding. These are challenges that employers will face. As they go, because we don't see each other every day. Sometimes we need that connection, that human connection, or bonding, in order to gel the team so that they can work towards a certain goals. However, these kind of challenges can be overcome if we use different type of skills, leadership skills, uh,
Yeah.
coupled with some digital devices or technology. Yeah. So
Mm-hmm.
that's how I see that, bonding part, the engagement type. How can we do things differently?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's fantastic, because very, very good comments are coming from the floor, and I
Yeah.
love the wisdom of the crowd here. So guys, let's chime in on that. Employees can feel disconnected from their organization and their colleagues. It's the culture and values. Ruth Run talked about engagement with employees. Totally, we're missing that bond with people that we consider as a team. So team
Mm,
together, everyone achieves more, but we're in doing our own things pretty independently. Polio talks about managing performance, and yeah, that's a true part, and we're going to talk about that very shortly. To thumb, we must change in our way of working to adapt ourselves in any situation. We can have a laptop and work anywhere in any parts of the world. True that. you know Many of us actually don't realize virtual working, remote working has been here for a long time. It's just that it's been a very small subset of people that had to be here. So they're more international. They've got German counterparts and American counterparts. And actually, remote working is not new. It's just that in March, when it locked down, all of us have to go through it. So because of that large, fast shift, it became something that was a talking topic, and many people couldn't manage it well. Hmm? So true to thumb. Thank you. And I love that one of our crowd here also talk about managing the energy level. Wow, and hybrid, because some days stay at home, some days go to office, commute, and then become very tired. So that's also true as well. More precautionary areas here. Johan is talking about communication between employees is a bit difficult. We
Mhm.
lose the ability to walk a few feet, to speak to
Yeah,
a
I miss that.
colleague. Yeah, you know what we miss? We miss pantry talks.
yeah.
Yeah.
Pantry talks. Yeah, those 30 seconds, 60 seconds. Hey, how are the kids? Those are we don't have anymore. So there are a lot of thank you guys. So much to be aware of. What other cons are there? Maybe Jean, Elin, that you see that we have to be cautionary about.
Wow. I think I'm just looking at everything that you guys have said. These are the top ones. I totally miss. Yeah. I think the other one is the cons of hybrid, right? I don't know, for me, after 2 years, I've developed some occupational hazard of sitting too long. So
Oh,
I'm seeing the
Yeah.
physiotherapy a little bit more now.
okay.
Yeah, so the just being able to walk here and there every day and clock, I know I was able to just clock up my 7,500
Mm,
steps easily
mm,
just by being physically in the office, right? But
right,
right
right.
now, yeah, so I save on commuting, but then the I use that time to go exercise after work because during work I don't get to walk around, right?
Mm,
Another con I see is you see different industries will take hybrid model I think differently. There
yeah,
are certain industries which the people have no choice but to be physically there, especially
sure,
in the manufacturing side.
sure.
When you're
Mm,
in construction, I mean, you have to be there. The job nature is like that, right?
yeah,
So these places, they require to have more buildings set up because
mm,
now you have to be more socially distanced.
yeah,
So I said that while for some industries, yes, they can shut down
yeah,
offices because people can work from home. For some
sure,
industries, they have to build more buildings because people need more space now, right? Half
sure,
of the space, yeah.
sure.
So I think that's something to consider.
Mm, mm,
For
mm.
certain, I think our conversation here it will be different depending on what industry you're in. See,
Correct,
right?
correct. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Mm. And what kind of industry? Who are your customers? What are the employees required to do in their scope of work? Is it frontliners? Is it working with kids? And therefore, the hybrid model will look very different for different businesses. Yeah, so that's a
Mm.
very important one.
That's right.
Another con that I want to call out, and I don't know if Jean and Elin and my wisdom of the crowd, chime
Mm-hmm.
in. I think the dangers of the hybrid model is that we have to go to the workplace and work from home in given days. So it's both. And the challenge to that is the occupational hazard, the safety. As we go to the office and then we come back and then the exposure is in two places as
Yeah.
opposed to one. And so if we talk about hybrid, it being designed that way, how do we safeguard our employees, and even ourselves as employers? We don't want to be responsible to create new clusters, right? So how does that chime in as well? So that some of the cons to the hybrid model as opposed to fully virtual. Yeah,
Mm.
very interesting.
Mm.
Stephen, nice to see you here, Stephen. Are you logging in from Singapore? Are you logging in from Malaysia? So employees hold the upper hand. When manager call them on their non-performance, they will just move on the next waterfish company. Oh dear, many months of free money. While new employees on board give leeway for employees to adjust and then coach and then warning letter. Okay, so we're kind of going there. Managing the workforce is more complicated to decide who can and
Mm.
won't be working from home. Oh my gosh, so for the employers, a lot more work, right? Okay, Steven, Singapore. Okay,
That's true.
so let's jump into this. All right. So we talked about the potential advantages and disadvantages. From the employee, definitely a lot of advantages. From the employer, it's more like a but long term
Mm.
benefits are dala. It's there. Okay, let's move the conversation up another notch. Okay. Now we want to talk a little bit about the managers and the leaders.
Mm.
We play a role, yeah, and I know we have a lot of C-suites inside this live wire. We have a lot of managers, we have a lot of business owners as well, inside this live wire. What are the key leadership shifts? So as managers and leaders, how do I play a role to manage the hybrid work model better for my team? And many of us here talk about performance, and managing of energy, and so if I can, there what are some of the leadership shifts and mindset shifts that each of us have to have as leaders and managers in the hybrid workplace? Jean, Ellen, what do
So
you
good.
both think? Very good.
Yeah, I think this is such an important topic.
Jean,
Yeah.
can you check your side? The sound, sorry.
There's a little bit of background noise, huh?
Yeah.
All right. How
Okay.
does it sound now? All right.
Okay, good.
It's okay.
Very good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I think the leaders have a lot to think about just to shift into the right hybrid model for your company, your industry, right? It's not something that's easy because we're dealing with shifts for different people in our company and different generations that you may have in the company, right? Because I've been reading the surveys that's been done, be it by Boston Consulting Group or um, other HR consulting groups. I'm like, wow, and even sales organizations because they are really feeling it, right? It's like we have to decide who prefers what. So we have to sit down and
Mhm.
talk to every single one of them, you know?
Mm,
So I'm saying like, yeah, flexibility is great for the younger ones. They want that. But it's not something that maybe the baby boomer generation would prefer,
yeah.
right? They want to be in the office. So whatever we decide as leaders, we do have to help them to adjust. So in
Mm,
that sense, the culture is changing in the office
mm-hmm,
environment and
mm-hmm,
virtually together.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Um, so I think we have to think through the nitty gritty and have more of that one-to-one conversations to check in and to
Right,
receive their inputs and continue to adjust,
right.
in order to make the environment good for everyone, in a sense.
Mm.
Mm, mm-hmm,
Yeah. So
mm-hmm.
So I mean, for Malaysia, we're just going back to the offices, and we are hearing, yeah, people who work in offices that have 50, 60 floors, just
Mm,
going up the
mm.
list with social distancing
Yeah,
is going to take you, yeah, a few times longer than
yeah.
before.
Sure. So that
Um,
flexibility in terms of going to work and coming back from lunch, all that are logistical flexibilities that must be in place, right?
Yeah.
yeah.
So, so what other leadership shifts and mindsets need to move as we go into the hybrid model and the hybrid mode of working? Elin, what are your views?
Yeah, I think one of the things that a few of us, a few in the audience have mentioned is in managing performance, right? I
Mm,
think we have to also have a mindset shift into how we're going to manage performance if our team is doing work remotely. What needs
Mm,
to be changed? Is there
mm,
any indicators or KPIs that I have to shift it now because it's different now? How I'm going to measure the performance is going to be different from I'm seeing them
mm,
maybe physically in the office, right? So do I need to change the way I communicate with them? Number one, my communication methods or communication ways. Secondly,
mm-hmm.
do I need to put in place certain tools
Yeah,
or apps, so that we can manage performance better,
right.
right? Because Johan says that we have to shift from managing the outcomes, the objectives, rather than managing by attendance. If I see you there, the physical body there, I say you're good, then I won't be I won't measure in terms of the attendance percentage, for example, but I have to
Mm,
look into what is the output.
mm,
All right,
mm,
let's say the reports, writing reports or finishing analysis reports is more important. Now that my measurement will be measured the number of the analysis report that you have finished, and
right,
then
right.
how accurate and everything, and not like attendance. Are you coming here every day? Do you
Mm,
come late, go back early? No, that may not be important anymore. So how
mm,
I manage my performance have to have a shift as well, and that shift have to
mm,
come first from as a leader. I have to see that it's different now. I have to shift
mm-hmm.
my mindset, and then I set the KPIs differently now.
Oh,
Yeah, I think
yes.
as a leader, I need to do that first. I cannot
Mm,
measure it. I may or may not be able to measure them with the current KPIs anymore. I may have to change my KPI.
mm.
Yeah. So I
And
think that's
and
something
and
that we have to think about.
yeah. And it's so powerful because I think that's that's being very clear with the performance we require from our employees. I mean, these are just key performance indicators, but we need to be very clear with the outcomes we want from each person. We also need to be clear with perhaps projects or outcomes in a month. We just have to define it. And I see that as just being better at planning. You know, when you plan, it's calling more that we are more definitive in how we work together instead of, hey, everybody, 9 o'clock, let's go into the meeting and then we'll figure things out in there. We almost have to figure it out and then organize ourselves and call for the collaboration. It's really calling for better collaboration as opposed to, let's all just come together and then do some work. It does call for more. What do you guys see in that? Jean, you're nodding your head.
Yeah. I mean, I want to just I was just reflecting on the changes that my own company had to go through. I think hardware and software. I was just thinking about those two. And please share, right, the audience, like the hardware changes that happened in my company. There were a lot of purchases of so much hardware, shifting from just desktop to laptop, and from people who needed new devices just to do their work. So all that has happened, and all that is quite a big cost to the company, right? Then on top of that, you have to install in all the softwares that's needed for work collaboration now, because you can't see each other properly. And so, of course, we have plenty of tools online, right? Be it monday.com or similar tools that you can use, right? Just to help each other be updated, although we don't get to see each other. So the training of how to use those tools, the adjustments of getting into all those, I think all that's been done over the past year. Hardware done, software done. Now everyone said, oh, I'm ready. Don't ask me to go back to work, right? Okay, I can work from home now. But I do see a major shift. I also see that there were, and there are still some leaders who are saying, I can't wait for going back to where it was before.
No.
I still can't accept.
Is it ever going to be, hey, can it go back to normal?
Can it go back to normal? Right? It's just like,
normal.
Like,
what do you mean by normal?
Yeah. I don't know what's the normal. Yeah.
So I think,
and we hear those. We hear those,
We hear those, and we are in the midst of having conversations about what is the right hybrid model. We're still going through it now, isn't it? Right? I still feel like everyone's going through it.
Yes.
And there are those who are like, okay, I've gone through a big mountain of change the last 2 years.
Sure.
I think I want this to be the last mountain of change. I don't think I can handle another revision going forward,
So true.
But we are talking about the future of work.
Yeah.
And it has come to us now.
And we don't know. And we don't know if there's going to be a further lockdown. And how do our economies sustain against that? Because we can't be so short term as to see that, okay, everybody, time to head back out there. But, many of our neighbors are shutting down again. So there is a need to really understand how the hybrid model works for each and every one of our businesses, small to large companies. Yeah. I really love what Johan shared here, because I think it's talking about a big leadership shift here, because a big danger of the hybrid working model is the temptation of managers to move even more to a 24/7, 365 work mode. Yeah, that means work all the time. Everyone needs to develop the discipline not to email, not to WhatsApp. It's a certain level of respect. Yes. So let's call that out, or at a minimum, communicate clearly that if a manager sends a communication during non-working hours, an immediate reply is not required. Now, I sense this as a culture or a value of respect, of work-life balance, if between hybrid and going to the office. If I go to the office, I leave the office means I'm done now. Bye guys, ciao, see you tomorrow. Done. But how does that work if I'm working from home? So it's a sense of respect. Any of you can comment on this very important shift for leaders, micro to macro manage. I think this is also a bit of micromanagement that we have to be able to move away from. What do you guys think?
Well, I think this has been a problem for a long time, even before the pandemic, even before the hybrid change.
Sure.
It's just worsened.
Yeah.
But I think if you go down to the root cause of this, right, it is actually self-discipline and control, and a decision by the company, if you can. I mean, we just have to set some boundaries and rules to it. I mean, the answer is simple, but the practice of it is difficult, right?
Yes.
Right. So maybe
Yeah, very urgent, very urgent. I need this done now. 10 o'clock, you say, what do I do?
right.
We all have that, right? Urgent
Yeah.
demands, right? So how do we work all this out? It's beautiful. These are the nitty-gritty that we need to work on instead of assume that everybody is the same. And it's conversations that I see a lot of good teams. I'm talking about good teams. I see a lot of good teams have as they decentralize. So organizations are having fixed SOPs, fixed policies and rules around safety, but they also have a loose part of it where they centralize, but they decentralize. So they centralize where it's safety oriented, okay, and they decentralize where, okay, guys, you go and work it out with your department. Go work it out with your unit. Go work it out. How do you want to answer to after our requests or inquiries or whatever? Go work it out and come to a consensus. It's almost that's some of the leadership shifts that's calling for already. So do we hear our employees and work it out? What works for them and what doesn't?
That's right.
That's powerful.
Yeah.
Powerful stuff. And I think as we talk about performance management, so many of us are talking about performance management here and how do we manage that? And it comes along with discipline. I totally agree with Johan, with Poliu, with Stephen, with Totem. Now, if I can, it then calls even more for the need to digitalize our businesses.
Oh, yeah.
To be able to put all this data in one place for decision making, to know how to work together. So the next part of the conversation is so crucial, and I want to ask my panel here. We talked about the softer skill, the leadership values that need to shift in the culture. So let's talk a little bit about the harder stuff. As we go into this hybrid model, some companies are highly unprepared. So what needs to be in place to equip us for the future to come, which is hybrid, which is both virtual and physical? What needs to be there? And I want to throw this out to Jeanne and Eileen, but my wisdom of the crowd, hello, all of you out there, please let us know.
Yeah, please chip in.
We may not cover it all, and actually some of you guys are sharing crucial stuff that actually each of us really need to know. So I'm calling all that out, all right? So please tell us, what needs to be here?
Yep. I think
Eileen.
for the large organization or the multinationals, probably they are more advanced in their digital infrastructure that they have. But I think for the SMEs or this will be area that we really need to look into it. How can we have a better digital infrastructure? Even like currently we may have certain systems that we're using, but it's still on premise, means that it depends on the server sit inside your office somewhere, but once this happened, we have to go back to the office. Only we can access to some of even the software. We talk about getting software, getting applications, but is it easily accessible or not? Are they all in cloud? Are they cloud based or not? So that I can access it anytime that I want to go. So I think these are some of the things that we still have to we have to shift to it, because some people say, I already have an ERP system, for example, but I need to go back to the office, only I can connect to it. I can't do it from home. So what's going to happen? So yeah, I
Yeah.
think this is also the next level. I do have the software, but are they accessible anywhere? And when it's
Mm.
accessible anywhere, how about my security? So
Yes.
IT
Mm.
security, information security become another area that we have to put in place so that even though we allowed our employees to our staff to assess things outside of the environment in the office,
Right.
then how about security? Their individual laptop, how do we put in the security that's needed? Yeah, so I think these will be areas that we need to look into. Besides the software, are they cloud based? Are they easily accessible? How about my security to make sure that even I use it from home, nobody can I have enough security so people cannot easily hack into my computer that can hack to my company system.
Sure.
So I think
Sure.
this part of it that is we have not just digitalization, but more than that, a bit more than that, than just
Yeah.
having a digital device. Yeah,
Correct,
That's right.
correct. And many banks and FIs, financial institutions, are also still figuring some of that out, so much so that
yeah,
on the compliance and risk management, it still requires certain employees to go in and access certain amounts of information, conduct approvals, and then come back, and then the rest of the week they work from home. But there's still those critical functions that need to
mm,
operate, and only from there, and cannot be done remotely. And I imagine it's such a significant investment,
mm,
Elin, as you mentioned. Yeah.
yes,
So, very, very good, very, very good discussion. What else? What
yeah,
else do we require from our workplace as we go into the hybrid model of working together?
mm,
Jean, anything to chime here?
Yeah. I think we actually, yeah, just looking at what Johan wrote about, the cost of actually helping employees to set up their home offices.
mm,
Some, I know a
Yes.
lot of companies that, yeah, do give their people new tables and working chairs just to make sure that they continue to be, yeah, healthy to produce, right, to be productive. um, I think the shift in terms of setting up the right systems and spaces. We know, yeah, like in my company, there's so much going on right now. There's a lot of renovations going on just to make sure the building is safer,
Hmm.
especially at not just the workspaces needs to be redesigned because
Hmm.
if you're going to have, yeah, this hybrid model, actually we don't need as many for some
Yep.
departments. We can cut down
Yep.
and we can create spaces for other things. So other spaces that needs to be double or triple are like eating spaces, unless
Mm.
you want to have people eat in shifts now, right? So
Yes.
on the yeah, because I don't know, HR is very busy, would be very busy because hours are changing, what time to come in, what time to go out. Should eating hours be longer? Flexibility in every sense. Flexibility
Yeah.
in logging in, coming back, schedules of who should come in and out, addressing to people who have needs and not pushing them away. We know
Yeah.
that people are stressed out,
Yeah.
emotions are high,
Yeah.
helping managers to learn how to help employees to have higher empathy in the workplace. Wow.
Oh, yeah.
Training of
Just listening.
managers to have higher empathy. Okay, that's something new we've seen happen over the last year. Suddenly,
Yeah.
training for empathy has shot up.
Yeah. And compassion.
Compassion.
Yeah. It was
Understand.
always there, but it became so much more important in the last year and a half because people were
Exactly.
getting stressed, people were getting burnt out.
That's right.
True. True.
Yeah. So,
Wow.
mm,
Mm.
insurance coverage. Ooh, Stephen.
Wow, nailing it on the head, going fast there, huh, Stephen? So, how would hybrid working affect insurance coverage for their workforce? I think that one is another webinar. If we can, it's a different type of webinar, but we're happy to consider that kind of information. If all of you want to know, we can bring somebody here and we can talk about that. Anything to chime in on that question, Jean or Eileen, if you have any experience on that?
I think the first question I would ask everyone is how many of you have installed have bought COVID, right, insurance for your people? Have we bought that? So I was one of those that have, right? If you've been hit a few times, yeah, you know how high those medical bills can be. I'm one of the first that would jump on the bandwagon. Oh, you have insurance? I'm taking it. I'm taking that. I also like to touch the space of, I guess, risk
Yeah.
management,
Yes.
insurance. Um, we're also hearing how banks are very serious about this now. Because as we know, right, guys, many companies require loans from banks over the past year.
Mhm.
So banks are reviewing all these at deeper levels, right? How safe is your workplace? I'm in a way, putting money on you, loaning you so much and seeing you through. And so interest rates now at different levels, depending on how safe our workplace is, how best we manage risk, what's our business continuity processes,
Yes, yes, yes,
what
yes.
does
Oh,
it look
yeah.
like?
Continuity.
Have you guys even thought about that? Do you have that? And is your business sustainable? Yeah.
Yeah.
So, do you have enough preventive measures? Right. What if your people fall ill, can't go to work, and
Yeah.
your company shuts down? Right.
Yeah. No,
So,
and we've seen it. We've seen it,
Yes, yes,
Jean,
I've seen
where
it.
factories have had to clear out their whole floor, and when they're not producing, there's such a huge opportunity cost of revenue by the millions, right? So that in itself is productivity, is performance. How do we safeguard against that?
absolutely. So, I think
Very
that's
interesting.
a huge area. I guess I can. Should we put that under the leadership space? I'm not sure. Right.
Yeah.
Risk management. Your business continuity processes, risk processes. I think that this area should be our top five leadership considerations to ensure
Mm,
that we have all our plans in place.
yeah.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah. And even if we do, we've got a very good question from Rothman here.
Mm,
Even if we don't have the best laid plans, it's then about flexibility of employers and employees in thriving in the new future, because we don't know
Mm.
if it's honky dory and back to work, or it's just going to be another shutdown later, and then it's here nor there. So even the best laid plans could be thrown, a spanner could be thrown into it, right?
mm.
So absolutely, Jean, fantastic views. Ruthran, okay, how do you manage employees who are still afraid of traveling to work? Okay, that's very, very true. And even if it's for a day in a week, how do we assure the safety of the employee? Mm. uh,
Interesting.
yeah,
Yeah.
interesting. And you know what, before I go to the coaches, yeah, Elin and Jean, it is a valid concern. And when I did a webinar yesterday, for a large telecommunications company, the poll that came out was at 55%. The concerns were, if we now have to report to work 1 to 2 days a week, it's about physical health. Yeah, that was one. Another concern, which was the next highest, was commuting. So then we have to commute. And Malaysia, we are famous for our traffic jams. And if it rains, it gets worse, right? So there is a lot of that, and this is a very valid concern. Uh, Eileen, Jean, want to chime in here?
Yeah,
Last
I just
question before we go to the wrap up. Yeah, Jean.
I think it's a very good question because employees do
Awesome.
have real concerns, right
Sure.
down to the concerns is about safety and health. Um, I read this data point. I just want to call it out, like high percentage of employees, 47% actually say if you don't give me hybrid work model, I will choose to resign
I would
and
cabut.
look for a workplace that gives me hybrid work model.
Wow.
Wow. So I saw that number 47%. This is global number, right? It's not a Malaysian survey. Um, but yeah, I believe if I do the same poll in Malaysia, we will at least hit one third of the population saying that. So the concern is, yeah, have we done enough to actually ensure the safety and health? So we know we have to follow SOPs. I hope everyone knows how to do that by now, right?
Of
And we
course.
continue to just remind people on the same SOPs.
Sure.
So how do we help them? I think, yeah, it's stuff that we talked about. Get the hardware, the software, the spaces all redesigned for their safety.
Mm.
And another thing which I didn't call out just now that I want to call out now is all the bigger gatherings that we always used to do,
Mhm.
from
Mhm.
trainings to the quarterly meetings
Team
to that
buildings.
100, 200 people
Mm.
briefings, right?
Mm.
That's the question. How are we going to do these big meetings going forward long term?
Mhm.
So trainings have to go on.
Yeah.
Not
Yeah.
everyone likes to do it over Zoom,
Yeah.
Sure. Sure.
right? We have to
And
figure it out. Mm.
yeah, sure, sure. And to Ruthran's question here, which I think is a very good one, are also roles that organizations and HR departments that are taking to go one step further to educate and create awareness around being safe. Being safe is one, not SOPs only, yeah, but being healthy and well. It's not.
Mm.
No, I think if I can, it's everywhere. It's not a pandemic. It's an endemic. We are learning to live with it, so it becomes a common cold and a fever, right? It gets to that point. So if I want to reduce my probability of contracting COVID, then I got to keep keep my immunity up. And how do I do that? And
Mm.
so we're coming back to some of the basics of mental health, of eating well, sleeping well, taking those vitamins, exercising, and and then staying as top in your energy as possible by say going well, because we can't like not go to work, not commute, not see clients. We're gonna have to live with this. So that's a very good
Yeah,
point there.
Mm.
Very good
I
point.
think if we want to live with it, we first have to educate. I think even
The
just to answer,
masses.
yeah, Lutherans, I mean, if we have people up till now who are afraid to go into work once a week, that's something in their mind that makes them afraid. I
Yeah.
think we do
Sure.
have to understand, like, what fear are we talking about here?
Mm.
Have
Correct.
we educated enough? Have we done enough? Like, if I've done all my SOPs, why would you still fear? What's actually
Sure.
going on?
Yeah.
But all these are very real because I know of families who've lost family members, right?
Yeah.
So as HR, we may have to deal with trauma.
Sure.
Yeah, so these are, I guess, carried forward trauma symptoms
Mm-hmm.
from before.
Hmm.
So we want to celebrate. Hey, New Year's coming, 2022. I mean, we do have people
Sure.
who have been hit by this pandemic, right?
Yep.
We need to settle all this. We need to help our employees to really overcome it so they can move forward with us.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Mm.
Yeah.
And Totham, you're right. As a sales personnel, you would carry some exposure, right? So that's part of the fears that many people would have, right? And I love what Jeanne, what you just talked about just now about those fears that are out there. Um, some of what Johan is talking about here is companies just putting in place some fixed policies and SOPs for people to vaccinate themselves. So these are the harder parts that we can impose.
Mm.
Almost if you don't get vaccinated, you need to go and look for a job elsewhere unless you have a medical reason, and then you got to show it, right? The doctor's note, isn't it? So these are the harder parts that we can put in place, but there will still be the fears, as Jeanne shared just now, the fears, the concern of getting out there. Yeah. And this is true. This is true, and it is actually very real. Yeah.
Mm.
Very good. Okay. Wow, good discussions today, everyone. We've come down to the hour. I think we can really keep talking about this. For how many of you this is a very, very good conversation to have. Yeah, if you're having a good conversation now, I'm going to get our panelists to start wrapping up this awesome conversation. So please share with us, what are some of your key takeaways from today's discussion among the panelists? But there are also a lot of very good points from all of you here, the panelists inside here, the wisdom of the crowd. So let's call it up. What were some of your takeaways from today's topic on moving into the hybrid work model? All right. Okay, what's this? Johan Mokhtar by January. Singapore employees which are not vaccinated are not allowed to enter the office. Aha, there you see. Whoa. Boom, drop the boom. So, hey, where do I work? So this is very good. Fantastic. So as you guys write in some of your key takeaways, coaches, Jeanne and Elin, what are your one piece of wisdom or advice as many of us as leaders, business owners, employers, or employees in this live wire are considering about hybrid? What advice can you give to all of us out here? Elin, you want to go first? Hey.
Yep. I think as we move into the hybrid work, we not just look at the position, because just now we mentioned that even like, for example, a retail, we have some positions, some roles and responsibility or tasks and activities that can be done remotely. So we think as we look at the hybrid model, look at the activities and the roles and the tasks that an employee have to do, then we can decide what kind of hybrid model we're going to have for these people. Yeah, some is like cannot, totally not possible to do hybrid, have to all in the physical, right? So I think we have to look into that, and then equip our managers with the necessary skills. For example, communication skills. How can I engage? How managing performance differently. So I think we need to train and equip our managers, especially the people managers. How would they manage? I think this another part that we need to do. Besides the physical arrangement, I think the so-called the soft skill side is that we equip them with the skill, so that when people are in a hybrid model, they still able to lead their people well to achieve the company objective. If you just do the hard physical arrangement without thinking about what skills are needed now, because
Yeah.
things have changed, then we may face more challenges, more issues than than if we plan properly and equip them. Yeah, I
Mm.
would say that would be something you need to do.
Beautiful views. Beautiful views. Beautiful views, because I think the takeaway from what you just shared, Elin, is that we should not be hard and fast about it. Even if we decide it's hybrid, it is something that must continue to be fluid as we listen to our employees. It's not okay, you are front end, you go to work, you are back end, and then you stay at home. It's not as
Mm.
simple or black and white, and it's the black and white thinking that limits us from being
Mm.
adaptable in the first place. So
Yes.
Elite, that is so beautiful, and I love what you shared about upskilling. It's that
Yes.
a lot of our managers and our leaders just continuously need to be educated or re-educated, to remember all, to go to another level of skill
Mm.
set in managing a hybrid team. Yeah,
Yeah.
very good, very good points.
Mm.
There's
Gee,
even the skills of asking questions. How can we
yes,
do better? Because like just now example, the staff is worried, afraid to come to work, but what
sure.
is the real cause of their fear? Yeah, if
Mm,
you have a better asking questions skills or coaching skills in that sense, we can find out really and really help the person, to overcome
yes,
it or find another way to help the person. I think that will make the whole engagement from the employees and everything, very different from just this is how it should be done. You come or you don't come, or yeah, not so
sure.
hard, fast, and rigid about it. Yeah.
Sure, sure, sure. The hard and fast and the rigid about it assumes that the managers and the leaders know what to do. But
Mm,
we have
mm,
to
mm.
bear in mind that we are in a phase of the economy where and running businesses that none of us have ever been in this before.
Yes.
So it's not so important that we gotta tell you how to do it. It's more important that
Mm,
we ask questions, and that's the skill of coaching, really. Eileen, that you talked about is asking questions and not making assumptions. Is asking
Yeah.
the coaching bit of it. Very good. Thank you so much, Eileen.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Uh, over to Jeanne. Over to Jeanne before I
Okay.
read some of these takeaways. Jeanne, your own piece of advice for everybody here.
I think what I can say is the topic is real, that the data is so strong, showing us that employees want a hybrid workplace. So as employers, the advice is that we need to accept and embrace what's going on. Um, we cannot go backwards. We have to move forward. So we are continue to just listen to our employees. So it's two-way street, and there's no right or wrong model.
That's
There
right.
are just lots of different models.
That's right.
So maybe as we're accepting and embracing that, yes, this is the way it is, we do have to start to redesign some of our work processes, even policies, and also risk management structures. Yeah.
Mm.
So I think there's a lot of work for the company as a whole, the management team, the leadership, to ponder about for the next 3 years on, let's change this. Let's make it, worth our while. So overall, I think it is a good thing
Yeah.
because we're allowing flexibility not to just be in, compensation and benefits for employees. We've done
Mhm.
that a lot, right?
Yeah.
Choose what you want because I want to keep my talent. But now the talent is talking about health and safety. Talent is talking about, gosh, reskilling.
Yeah.
So I think it's just fast paced, the ability for leadership to apply flexibility in, like, how should I just restructure and redesign the whole work environment, you know?
Mm.
So I think the faster we embrace it, we recognize that this is a change management project that hasn't
Yeah.
ended.
Yep.
That
Just
let's
starting.
continue to get it solved for our
Yeah.
whole entire A to
Yeah.
Z of how to manage the workforce going forward. Yeah,
Fantastic.
it's powerful.
Fantastic. Great views. Great views. Thank you so much. I think I'm just going to read out. This is an amazing sharing to engage coaches, to educate staff on how to work effectively in the hybrid environment. So thank you, coaches. Thank you, Polio. And if I can, it's not just coaching as a external professional, but I think it's really encouraging each and every manager and leader to know the skill of coaching. And those
Mm.
we call leader coaches,
Yep.
where you hire anything more than one person too many, uh, you would require the skill of coaching as a leader coach. And so
Mm.
thank you so much, Poliu, for sharing that. Yeah. Thank you so much, coaches. I think Jeanne, Eileen, today has been a blast. All right. Oh my gosh, there's so much to share. It's not about the coaches telling you a bunch of stuff. We really respect each and every one of you and the wisdom and the insights that you bring as business owners, leaders in your own organizations, SMEs, or large corporates. Yeah. So thank you very much, everybody, for being here today. We will end off this awesome conversation. Thank you. Thank you. I see all these dear friends. Shamila, nice to see you. Doreen, thank you. Thank you, each and every one of you. We hope that you got a lot of value. I think at the end of the day, we want to make it easier for us to all go back to running our businesses, being productive, making money, running our teams, catching up on lost time. Ruthven, thank you. Patsy, thank you. So we wish you all the best. If you have any questions, yeah. Karunisa, thank you. Very awesome as well. If you have any questions, just write to us. We're here to be able to support you. All right. So till then, we'll see you in the next live wire. Take care, guys.
Bye.
Bye.